You wake up once, maybe twice, sometimes 3 or 4 times every single night because your bladder pulls you out of deep sleep, then you stumble to the bathroom in the dark, hoping you won't trip. Here is something you need to know. If you're 50 or above, falling at night will be one of your biggest threats because according to a research, every 11 seconds an older adult is treated in the emergency room for a fall. The most frightening part is what happens after the fall. 1 out of every 5 falls causes a serious injury like a broken bone or a head wound. Once a senior breaks a hip, the risk of dying within the next year jumps to nearly 30%. Now all of these can be as a result of that late night walk, which can be the last time you ever live independently. And if any of these sounds familiar, you're not alone. But more importantly, you don't have to accept it as normal aging. Waking up more than once per night to urinate is not just annoying, actually. It's linked to higher risks of falls, fractures, and even heart problems. In 2018, a study from Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston found that older adults who wake up 2 or more times nightly have a 50% higher risk of falls compared to those who sleep through the night. That's because interrupted sleep affects your balance, your reaction time, and your bone strength. But here's what most doctors won't tell you until you specifically ask. The reason you're waking up might have nothing to do with your bladder at all. Let me explain something that changed how I understand nighttime urination. Your body is brilliant at managing fluid. During the day, when you're upright and moving, gravity pulls fluid down into your legs and feet. Your ankles might swell slightly. Your calves feel heavy by evening. You might not even notice it happening. But that fluid doesn't disappear because it sits there, trapped in the tissue spaces between your cells, waiting. The moment you lie down flat in bed, gravity stops pulling downward. Now that fluid can move freely. It drains from your legs, enters your bloodstream, travels to your kidneys, and gets filtered into your bladder. This process is called nocturnal polyuria, and it's one of the most common but overlooked causes of nighttime bathroom trips in people over 60. A 2017 study published in the Journal of Urology examined over 1,200 adults aged 60 and older who complained of frequent nighttime urination. Researchers found that nearly 60% of them had significant fluid retention in their lower legs during the day. When they addressed the fluid pooling before bedtime, nighttime bathroom trips dropped by an average of 43% within 2 weeks. How? Just better fluid management. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do in the next few minutes. But before we get to the solution, you need to understand why the usual advice doesn't work. Most people are told to stop drinking water after 6 in the evening, and yes, limiting fluids. Before bed makes sense to some degree, but if the real problem is fluid already sitting in your legs from the entire day, cutting off water at dinner doesn't solve it. You're still going to wake up because that trapped fluid will drain into your bladder the moment you lie down. Others are told it's just an aging bladder. Your bladder shrinks with age, they say. You need to accept it. But here's the truth. While bladder capacity does decrease slightly with age, the bigger issue for most seniors isn't bladder size. It's bladder irritation, pelvic floor weakness, and yes, that fluid redistribution we just talked about. The bladder itself might be fine. It's everything around it that needs attention. Now let me be clear about something important. If you're waking up 6, 7, 8 times per night, or if you're experiencing pain, blood in your urine, or a sudden change in urination patterns, you need to see a doctor. Those could be signs of infection, prostate issues in men, pelvic organ prolapse in women, diabetes, or other conditions that require medical evaluation. What I'm sharing today is for people who have already ruled out serious medical problems but are still struggling with 2 to 4 bathroom trips every night. This is for you if your doctor said everything looks normal but offered no real solutions. So what's the fix? It's a 2-minute routine you do before bed, and it works by addressing the root cause. Fluid pooling in your legs. I'm going to walk you through 3 specific steps. Each one takes less than a minute. No equipment needed. No complicated movements. Just simple, effective techniques that help your body process that excess fluid before you lie down to sleep instead of 2 hours after you've already drifted off. If you're finding this helpful so far, take a moment to like this video so more people dealing with nighttime urination can find it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing that now. We share practical health, guidance like this regularly, information that's often overlooked but can genuinely improve your quality of life. Let's start with step 1, the leg elevation drain. This is the foundation of everything else. Here's what you're going to do. About 30 to 45 minutes before your actual bedtime, find a comfortable spot where you can lie down. This can be on your bed, on a couch, or even on the floor with a yoga mat if that's comfortable for you. Lie flat on your back. Now, prop your legs up on pillows, a cushion, or even against a wall. The key is to get your feet higher than your hips. Aim for about a 45-degree angle. You don't need to be perfectly vertical, just elevated enough that gravity can work in reverse. Stay in this position for 10 to 15 minutes. What's happening during this time is critical. That fluid trapped in your calves, ankles, and feet is now draining back toward your core. It's entering your circulatory system, moving through your kidneys, and being filtered into urine. You're essentially forcing your body to process the fluid now, while you're still awake and able to use the bathroom instead of waiting until 2 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to sleep. A 2019 study from the European Association of Urology found that patients who elevated their legs for just 15 minutes in the late afternoon or early evening experienced a 38% reduction in nighttime voiding frequency. Some participants went from waking up 3 times per night to just once. That's life-changing. While your legs are elevated, you can read, watch television, or just relax. But here's a pro tip that makes this even more effective. Gently flex and point your toes while you're lying there. Flex your foot so your toes point toward your face, hold for 2 seconds, then point them away from you. This simple movement activates your calf muscles, which act like a pump. Your calf muscles are sometimes called the second heart because they help push blood and lymphatic fluid back, up toward your torso. 10 to 15 gentle repetitions during your elevation time will boost the drainage process significantly. Now, step 2. The bladder training reset. This one sounds counterintuitive, but it's incredibly effective. Most people with frequent nighttime urination have trained their bladder to send urgent signals even when it's not truly full. Think about it. If you've been waking up every 2 hours for months or years, your bladder has learned to expect emptying at those intervals. It's become hypersensitive. The muscle wall of the bladder contracts earlier than it should, sending you that urgent, I gotta go feeling, even when there's only a small amount of urine inside. This is called bladder retraining, and it's a technique used by urologists worldwide to help patients regain normal bladder control. Here's how you do it during the day, not at night. When you feel the urge to urinate, instead of rushing to the bathroom immediately, pause for 2 to 3 minutes. Sit down, take some slow deep breaths, and distract yourself with an activity. Afterwards, go to the bathroom. The goal isn't to hold it indefinitely. The goal is to gradually teach your bladder that it doesn't need to empty at the first signal. Over time, usually 2 to 3 weeks, you can extend that waiting period to 5 minutes, then 10. Research from the University of Michigan, published in 2016, showed that bladder retraining reduced urgency episodes by 52% in adults over 65. Participants also reported sleeping longer stretches at night because their bladder wasn't sending false alarms. This technique works because you're retraining the communication between your bladder and your brain. You're teaching your nervous system that the sensation of mild fullness is not an emergency. And when your bladder learns to hold a bit more comfortably during the day, it carries that training into nighttime as well. But be patient with yourself. This isn't an overnight fix. It requires consistency, and it's completely safe as long as you're not experiencing pain or infection symptoms. Now, step 3, the double void technique. This is the secret that ties everything together, and it's shockingly simple. Right before you get into bed for the night, go to the bathroom and urinate as you normally would. But here's the key. Don't leave the bathroom yet. After you finish, stand up if you are sitting, or lean forward slightly if you're standing. Wait for 20 to 30 seconds. You can wash your hands, adjust your clothing, whatever feels natural, then sit back down and try to urinate again. You'll be surprised. There's almost always a small amount left. Why does this matter? Because that small amount, maybe an ounce or 2, is often enough to wake you up an hour or 2 into sleep. Your bladder contracts when it reaches a certain threshold of fullness. If you leave a little bit behind, you're starting the night closer to that threshold. By getting it all out, you're giving yourself a longer stretch of uninterrupted rest. The double void technique is especially helpful for men with enlarged prostates and women with weakened pelvic floor muscles. Both conditions can make it difficult to completely empty the bladder in one attempt. A study from Johns Hopkins University in 2020 found that teaching patients the double void method reduced nighttime bathroom trips by an average of 1 full episode per night. For someone waking up 3 times, that's dropping down to 2. For someone waking twice, it's cutting it to once or even none. Let me walk you through what a typical evening routine looks like when you combine all three steps. Let's say your usual bedtime is 10 at night. Around 8:30 or 9, you lie down with your legs elevated for 10 to 15 minutes. During that time, you're gently flexing and pointing your toes. You get up, go about your normal evening activities, maybe brushing your teeth or setting out clothes for tomorrow. Around 9:45, you use the bathroom. Urinate fully. Wait 20 seconds, then try again. After that double void, you get into bed. You've now drained the fluid from your legs, retrained your bladder to hold more comfortably, and emptied as completely as possible. That combination gives your body the best chance of sleeping through the night, or at least reducing wake-ups significantly. But there's something else you should know. Something most people don't realize until they've been struggling for years. Certain foods and drinks you consume during the day can worsen nighttime urination, not because of their fluid content, but because of how they affect your bladder lining. Caffeine is the obvious one. Coffee, tea, soda, even chocolate contain compounds that irritate the bladder and increase urine production. If you're drinking coffee at 3 in the afternoon, that caffeine is still in your system hours later, making your bladder more sensitive. Alcohol does something similar. It suppresses a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, which tells your kidneys to hold on to water. Without enough ADH, your kidneys produce more urine than usual. Even if you had just one glass of wine with dinner, it could lead to extra bathroom trips later that night. Acidic and spicy foods are another hidden trigger. Tomatoes, citrus fruits, vinegar-based dressings, hot peppers, all of these can irritate the bladder lining in sensitive individuals. And artificial sweeteners, particularly those found in diet sodas and sugar-free desserts, have been shown to increase bladder urgency in some people. A 2015 study from the American Urological Association surveyed over 2,000 adults with overactive bladder symptoms. Those who eliminated caffeine, alcohol, and artificial sweeteners for just 2 weeks reported a 31% improvement in nighttime urgency. I'm not saying you have to give up everything you enjoy. I'm saying awareness matters. If you notice you wake up more on nights when you had certain foods or drinks, adjust accordingly. Now let's talk about hydration timing, because this confuses a lot of people. You've probably heard you should drink 8 glasses of water per day. That's general advice, and it's not bad. But for someone dealing with nighttime urination, when you drink matters just as much as how much you drink. Here's a smarter approach. Front load your hydration. Drink most of your water in the morning and early afternoon. By 6 in the evening, start tapering off. You don't need to stop completely. Sipping small amounts is fine if you're thirsty, but avoid gulping down large glasses of water or other beverages after dinner. Your kidneys process fluids continuously, but it takes time. If you drink 16 ounces of water at 9 at night, a good portion of that will be filtered into your bladder by midnight. There's also a hormonal component here that's worth understanding. As we age, our bodies produce less of that antidiuretic hormone I mentioned earlier. In younger people, ADH naturally increases at night, which is why children and young adults can sleep 8 hours without needing the bathroom. But after age 60, ADH production often drops, especially in the second half of the night. This is why many seniors wake up between 2 and 4 in the morning. It's when ADH is at its lowest and urine production is at its highest. While you can't control your hormone levels directly without medication, you can work with your body's rhythm. Here's another factor that almost no one talks about. Sleep position. If you sleep flat on your back all night, fluid redistribution happens faster and more dramatically. Some people find that sleeping with their upper body slightly elevated, using a wedge pillow or an adjustable bed, slows down the fluid shift and reduces nighttime urgency. A 2021 study in the journal Sleep Medicine examined 150 older adults with nocturia, which is the medical term for frequent nighttime urination. Those who slept with their torso elevated at a 15 to 20 degree angle experienced fewer nighttime wake-ups compared to those who slept completely flat. The elevation doesn't stop the fluid from draining, but it slows the process, giving your kidneys more time to filter it, gradually rather than all at once. Let's also address stress and anxiety, because mind-bladder connection is real. When you're anxious or stressed, your nervous system goes into a heightened state. Your bladder becomes more reactive. You might feel the urge to urinate even when your bladder isn't particularly full. This is why some people notice they need the bathroom more often before important events or during stressful periods. At night, if you're lying in bed worrying about whether you'll need to get up, that worry itself can trigger bladder contractions. It's a frustrating cycle. A 2018 study from Stanford University found that mindfulness meditation and deep breathing exercises reduced overactive bladder symptoms by 29% in participants who practiced for just 10 minutes before bed each night. The relaxation allowed the bladder muscle to calm down, reducing false urgency signals. If you've been nodding along with everything I've shared so far, you're probably ready to try this routine tonight. But let me give you realistic expectations. You might not see dramatic results on night one. Some people do. They elevate their legs, double void, and sleep through the night for the first time in months. But for others, it takes a week or two of consistent practice before the body adjusts. That's normal. Your bladder has been trained into a certain pattern for possibly years. It needs time to learn a new one. Stick with it and track your progress. Notice if you're waking up one less time per night. If you do, that's a win. One less interruption means more deep sleep, better energy, and lower risk of falls. And here's a final piece of the puzzle that brings everything together: your pelvic floor muscles. These are the muscles that support your bladder, bowel, and reproductive organs. In women, childbirth, menopause, and aging can weaken them. In men, prostate surgery or simply the natural aging process can do the same. Weak pelvic floor muscles can lead to incomplete bladder emptying, urgency, and yes, nighttime trips. Strengthening these muscles through exercises called Kegels can make a profound difference. To do a Kegel correctly, imagine you're trying to stop the flow of urine midstream. Squeeze those muscles, hold for 5 seconds, then relax for 5 seconds. Repeat 10 times, 3 times per day. You can do them sitting, standing, even lying down. No one can see you doing them. And within 4 to 6 weeks, most people notice improvement. A comprehensive review published in the International Urogynecology Journal in 2019 analyzed 27 different studies on pelvic floor muscle training in older adults. The conclusion was clear. Regular pelvic floor exercises reduced urinary urgency and frequency by an average of 40 to 50% across all age groups. And the benefits lasted as long as people kept doing the exercises. This isn't a cure that you do once and forget. It's a practice that restores control and dignity, and for many people, it eliminates nighttime bathroom trips entirely when combined with the other techniques we've discussed. So let me recap the complete strategy for you. During the day, practice bladder retraining by waiting a few minutes when you first feel the urge. Stay mindful of caffeine, alcohol, spicy foods, and artificial sweeteners, especially in the afternoon and evening. Front-load your water intake to the morning and early afternoon, tapering off by dinner time. Then, 30 to 45 minutes before bed, lie down with your legs elevated for 10 to 15 minutes. Flex and point your toes gently while you're there. When you're ready for bed, use the bathroom, wait 20 to 30 seconds, then try again to double void. Consider sleeping with your upper body, slightly elevated if flat sleeping worsens your symptoms. And finally, commit to strengthening your pelvic floor muscles with daily Kegel exercises. This is physiology, not magic. It's working with your body instead of fighting against it. And the beautiful thing is, every single step I've outlined is free, safe, and something you can start tonight. You don't need a prescription or any expensive equipment. You just need the knowledge of what actually works and the willingness to apply it consistently. I've seen patients go from waking up 4 times a night to sleeping 6 or 7 hours straight. I've watched people regain their energy, their confidence, and their quality of life simply by managing nighttime urination better. You deserve that too. If this video has been helpful, please hit the like button. It helps us reach more seniors who are struggling with the same issue you've been facing. Share this with a friend or family member who's tired of sleepless nights. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We publish practical, science-backed health information designed specifically for older adults. Before you go, drop a comment and let us know. How many times are you waking up at night right now? If at all you do. What's been the hardest part about dealing with nighttime urination? We read every comment, and your experience helps other viewers know they're not alone. Thank you for watching. Here's to better sleep, better health, and mornings where you actually feel rested.